Today's best practice session will learn about using content marketing to develop leads into registered students. Before we get started, I'd like to go over through some housekeeping items. We're going to be recording our presentation, and it will be available for viewing tomorrow. The panel on your right provides an area for you to enter questions at any time, and we will answer them at the end of the webcast. We do have a full house today, so if we run out of time, we will make sure to answer your questions offline. Our presenter today is Kim Albee, the founder and president of Genoo, a software-as-a-service company offering marketing automation and integrated online marketing tools, which is one of our partners. Kim has worked with organizations such as Yahoo, Wells Fargo, and VeriSign Global Registry Services. And she has been named one of the top 40 digital marketers by the Online Marketing Institute. We're very lucky and excited to have her here with us today. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you very much, and I'm excited to be here with you guys today, and thank you for having me do the webinar. Just really quick, I am the president and founder of Genoo, and we have a professional services agency that we call Content Zap. We offer integrated marketing tools and marketing automation to CE organizations using Lumens, and our Content Zap service works with businesses and organizations to supercharge their online marketing and build and augment your marketing teams. So just quick about me. What we're going to cover today, we have a full agenda, and it's going to be, I look forward to all of your questions. So as we walk through this, we have plenty of time for questions at the end. Write down all your questions as you walk through this. If you go, I wonder about, then please write that down. When we get to questions, please ask. And I think you can enter your questions in any time all the way along. So go ahead and just type them in so that we have them ready to go. We're going to go over the basic flow of online attraction, the lead engagement formula, the kind of content you will need. We're going to talk about eliminating the headaches of engaging leads, and the importance of follow-up and how to do it to save time and get better results. And then we're also going to walk through a real-world example and apply that to the world of continuing ed. So let's look at the basic flow of online attraction. You've got people finding you through search engines or social media or directory site listings or any number of ways that they can find you. They come into your landing page, your blog, or your website. And the visitor will find something, hopefully, find something they like or they need, and they'll opt in to receive it. When they opt in to receive it, that means they're completing some sort of a lead capture form. Now, I would say from the CE perspective, registering for a class is actually going all the way to converting them to a customer. And so while this could do that, we're going to back up a little bit and talk about the dating process that now is really prevalent if you want to get increasing results from your marketing. All of that information goes into a lead database. And if anybody were to call you, if you have a phone number on your site or anything like that, then that would also go into your lead database. Now so that's the overview. Now the lead engagement formula is easy. Why? Because it follows a formula. So here you go, right? Yep, and that's what probably most of you are doing, like, oh great, now I'm in an algebra class. So let's just take this one step at a time. Leads are a product of your target audience and the problems that your class's curriculum or training resolve for them. So that's L equals A times P, okay? How you get their attention is with an offer, something that they perceive as valuable enough to give you at least their email address. This is also called a lead magnet or a call to action. Note that sign up for our newsletter list is not what I'm talking about here. It could be, but it's so not specific. It doesn't give you anywhere to go with them. It doesn't give you a way to really engage them. All it does is get you a name on a list, and maybe they'll open your emails. Likely they won't. Okay? So what we're talking about with an offer is something that your audience, your target market, and we'll talk about how you get to that, perceives as valuable enough to just give you an email address. Rather than going for the register now and all that rigmarole, get them on your list and start to really nurture them well and target sends to them on things that they're really interested in. And Genoo helps you do that. So we're going to get to all that. So that's the offer. How they evaluate your offer is this. Does it interest them? Is it easy to access? In other words, do you have them go through a whole lot of hoops in order to deal with it? Like, do they have to give you all of their information and their firstborn in order to get any information out of you or to move forward in their process, even when they may not be at, you may not know them that well? So it is easy to access, and are you credible? Do they trust you? Balanced against or weighed against how much risk they perceive in accepting your offer. So this is what you call friction. You want to eliminate as much friction as possible in the process to go for the small wins, add up to big wins, okay? But lead engagement, it does follow a formula, but to be effective, you've got to bring something to the table. So you've got to bring experience, your experience that you have with your programs, your curriculum, and that means likely the experience of your instructor base, the creativity. You've got to bring creativity. You've got to think about different ways you can come at showing them how valuable what you've got is. So you've got to bring some creativity to it. Insights, you have to have insights into your market, into specific markets, and what makes them tick. You may have to talk with instructors that are the experts in the space that really know their markets in certain ways. And then you've got to bring a mindset that is willing to not just all the time go for the registration, but to back it up a little bit and go for the engagement. Okay? So forego your end result goal for the short win. In certain cases, you'll end up with way more registration down the road. So we're going to explore the content that you need. What does it take to do this? Because I know that CE organizations are a lot like small businesses. You guys have not a ton of resource for your marketing, and in some cases you don't even have a marketing resource. You have the director of your continuing education marketing or something like that that is all, by the way, also doing marketing. So I understand that. We work with a lot of companies that have that reality that aren't CE organizations. So what is the content that you need? Well, let's look at this. If you're out with social media search engines or anything like that, you've got to have content for your traffic sources. What's going to attract your customer, your perfect target market, from those vehicles into your landing page, your website, and your offers. So if you're participating out on social media and just posting comments with no calls to action, then nothing's driving them into your offering, into your house, which is your landing page, your website, and your blog, where they can actually take action. So your website, your landing pages, and your blog, that's also content. You've got to understand what the benefits are for someone taking a program. It's got to resonate with them. They can research and probably find 6 or 7 competitors where they can go take something similar in the same area where you guys are that will give them that education. So why you? And you've got to be able to make that case, and you've got to be relevant to their experience. You've got lead capture forms. And lead capture forms, you want to be able to easily create these without having to hire a web techie every time you need to have a lead capture form. Luckily, Genoo makes that really easy for you guys. So you can create whatever you need there and put those in place. So we're talking about not when somebody registers for a class, but what's all the things that you might need to offer or you could offer. For example, Pierpont, when they had they did a brown bag lunch, and the brown bag lunch was at a restaurant. So what they did was they created a landing page and created a lead capture form, put that on it, segmented their audience to the people who would be perfect to attend this brown bag lunch. In other words, perfect to take the class that they wanted to promote, because the instructor was going to do a presentation. And so they sent a very targeted invitation out to these folks, but they drove them where? They drove them to the landing page with the lead capture form so they could sign up to attend, and then they sent out emails automatically before the event to remind people to attend. They had to take 0 staff time to manage that process to have someone come to a brown bag. Now, the result of that brown bag is 25 people attended, and 12 people registered into the program, which was a huge ROI for them, and we have a whole case study on it, so I'm not going to go into it, but that's the idea here, is that could be a campaign, or it was a campaign for them. Then you have thank you pages that you need to be able to crank out, and emails, fulfillment emails that could be automatically sent upon somebody completing that lead capture form. It's like a progression. With the right set of tools like Genoo, it can be automated, which is really the only way to manage this flow well and at scale. And you guys have scale. You can start small, but you want to keep adding to it because you have so much content and classes and things like that that you're offering. You have to come up with how can you live in that world of online marketing with all the niche players that do just a portion of what it is that you guys provide. How can you compete effectively across all your offering? So that's part of your challenge. There are 3 flavors of content. The first kind is content that focuses on gain, pleasure, or aspirations. And this is the kind of content that you will love creating, this kind of content. It's like, yes, it makes you feel good. You're in that Zen place. And it covers things like, what does your specific target audience most want and desire? So if you've got somebody that's interested, and this can happen across any, it's not a woo-woo thing here, it can happen across any class offering that you have across any category. I mean, we work with businesses that are in all kinds of industries, and you've got to know given what it is that they're perfect to register into, what do they most want? What do they most desire? You have to know those things about that target audience. Do they have aspirations that you can tap into? For example, professional prestige or accomplishments that they can, hang on their wall. These kinds of things can go a long way too. It's that aspirational content. And then if life were good for these guys relative to your offering, your program, and all of that, what would their life look like? So you can paint that picture. You can talk about students who have gone through that particular program and are out the other side, and what that looks like. So that's that kind of content. That's the first flavor. The second flavor, and this is what we see a lot in marketing, lays out the logical argument or perspective. You can highlight the pros and cons. You can show a return on investment over your competitors or how they would calculate it. You can provide a checklist that would have them see the benefits of your class or program in a way that makes sense. You give them proof of success through customer case studies, reviews, or testimonials. This is all logical argument, right? So that's another kind of content that you can use. And the third kind of content is content that highlights fear or pain that your audience is or could be experiencing. So this is where you empathize with them about a specific pain they're experiencing. Given their situation, you can tell a story that they can relate to. You can illustrate how bad it can get if they don't take action soon to alleviate it or solve it. Or you can provide a success-failure set of case studies of who succeeded because they took action and someone who failed because they didn't. Now, this kind of content is what, when we work with people, it's like you just want to avoid putting this kind of content out there. It's just, it doesn't make you comfortable. And that's exactly the point. It doesn't make you comfortable. Most people want to avoid this, right? Avoid producing this content or making it available to their audiences. And let's just look at which flavor is most effective at inspiring action. In other words, having people take action. Which is it? So for those of you who think it might be gain, pleasure, and aspiration, while it's appealing to those things is fun, it comes in at number 2. So given that it comes in at number 2, and we now have logic or reason or fear or pain, which is it that gets you to act? There you go. Fear and pain cause action the majority of the time. A lot of times for human beings, we're just the creatures that it's got to get bad enough, or we've got to be in a position around it that we'll actually take action. So coming at it from and having content that addresses that can be very interesting. And then really fast, as soon as we make that, because every decision we make is an emotional decision. Now, you may think you're really logical and all that, but really you make decisions emotionally, and then you immediately follow up with the logic to support your choice. So it looks like you're thinking it through. It's just not the way decisions get made by human beings. It's all emotional. So you've got to have content that addresses that. So all three of these kinds of content or flavors of content are valuable and have to be considered in your content strategy if you want to maximize your results. Okay? So content done well has to connect at an emotional level. And it's appropriate given where the lead is in their buying process. So in their journey of what they want to do, the content you give them has to resonate with where they are. And you must guide the leads in their buying journey. So you have to guide people. So if you come into a site and it's just this huge, and it's this huge ability, or they could click any number of places. There's a guy at Marketing Sherpa, Flint McLaughlin. In fact, he owns it, Mech Labs, and I took a class from him, and he said this thing, and it's good. You want to eliminate all unsupervised thinking. Now, you might go, well, wow, but here's the thing. If you guide leads, you leave less to chance. So you want to think about, what is it? You could ask yourself this with every page you create and every way you think about things, every email you create. What is it that you want your leads to do? What is it you want the recipient to do? What is it you want your visitor to do when they're on that page or reading that email? And if they don't take that action, what other action do you want them to take? So that's the way to think about it. And most people don't think about content that way. You don't think about writing a blog that actually thinks about, well, what am I asking people to do? What do I want them to do when they're reading this, right? So that's what we're saying. You want to guide leads, remove unsupervised thinking. You'll get better results and better conversion. Same thing, ask them to take action along the way. And what that does is when you behave this way and you think about this, it builds authority, relationship, and trust, and it results in more students. It results in more customers because you're making it easy. Okay? As human beings, we want easy. So, and I'll go on a little bit of a tangent, but there's a reason why you have the big three TV news channels, right? And there's a reason why Fox started in 1994 as the #1 news channel today. 60% of what they report is opinion, okay? 60%, this is a fact, I'm not just making it up. 60% of what they report is opinion of the anchors and of the news organization. It's not fact. Now, but they are the most popular channel, and if you're on the conservative side of things, you don't have to do much thinking. They resonate with your point of view, and they know that they've got your interests in mind. So when they say something, you will find yourselves saying it to others, and you haven't really given it much thought, but you will. But you know they've got your perspective covered, so their perspective becomes your perspective. That's how easy human beings want things to be, right? So you've got to also think that through as you get fans and you get audience and you have authority, relationship, and trust. People want to know, what should I do? You've got to guide them. Now, matching content to their buying stage, we have a whole bunch of information about this. I'm going to just go through some stuff really briefly, and then I have a link for you. So you don't just want to educate. You want to guide. So marry your goals to have people register into your classes with their needs, issues, challenges, and aspirations, and use those things to tap into the content and create the content that's going to attract them, that's going to have them want more, and then have them register into your classes. Design and assemble content pathways that give leads what they want and also delivers on your end game. So you may have to, like what Pierpont learned, they got a 2,500% response or return on investment for the campaign when they had 25 people show up for a lunch and learn that was given by the instructor in a restaurant. They paid $600 for the meal to feed everybody, but they had 12 people sign up for a $1,200 program. So again, you want to deliver on the end game, but you want to give them what they want. And what those people wanted was getting a sense for and being able to step into what the experience of that class would be given the knowledge that instructor had. And they could map that in and go, oh my gosh, imagine, given what I learned now in this little lunch and learn for an hour, imagine what I would learn over a 6-month program with this instructor. Wow, I'm in, right? And then they went back to their companies, said the same thing, and they had more people per company in the class than they'd ever had before as well. So that's something that gave leads what they wanted and delivered on the end game of registrations and how in a big way, right? So when you match content to their buying stage, these are the ways to think about it. You've got your buying stages: early, investigation, opinion, and decision. And there's really only 4 conversations to have. You can talk about benefits, you can address questions, you can have, be sensitive to their emotions and empathize, and you have stay in touch conversations that just gives content and information. So you've got different things, and early on they want different things than when they're way down forming an opinion. Now, I'm not going to dive into this because we have a whole bunch of other things that do, but you can go out to bit.ly content-pathways, and that will take you to a content pathway how-to download if you're interested in learning more about that. All right, so the first step would be creating your offer or your lead magnet. What are you going to offer them that is short of them registering for the class? Okay, so first way to start is identify the category, subcategory of classes you want to work with. Pick one, because you can't do all of them at once, so start small, right? Identify who takes those kind of classes, what kind of person. How do you know that someone might be interested? So I was talking with NICC at the Augusoft User Summit, and one of the things that was fun to explore was, well, if someone signs up for a 1-hour kind of coaching, business coaching sort of class, just a 1-hour deal or a 2-hour deal or something, maybe it was a 3-hour deal. Anyway, so if they sign up for that class, does that mean that they might be interested in the Leadership Institute? Well, if they're interested in the Leadership Institute, look, great. That could be an indicator that they are, right? So then we know that everyone who registers into that class is a perfect kind of target, potentially, for the Leadership Institute. So now you have a pathway. You're starting to see the who takes those classes. At least it's one who. And you can start to look at, okay, so how would I engage them? What could I offer them or start with to have them thinking about it? So if they're interested in coaching, then you can say, wow, look at all of the stuff that Leadership Institute covers that then furthers what you're looking at that would start with this coaching program, that kind of thing. Then you write down, so you figure out who it is, and then write down their top 3 issues and challenges that your class's curriculum or program solves for them. Write those down because you can use those. Now, if you don't know the curriculum well enough, then engage an instructor. And if they don't have to write anything, you could have a conversation with them and record it. Pick their brain and get it transcribed, and now you've got a whole bunch of content that you can use that is relevant. And then finally, what are the top 3 questions that they really want the answers to? Just the top 3, not a laundry list of questions. What are the top questions? Because that's all you really need to know, is that these are the things they really want to know. Now you've got somewhere to start. The ideas for what you could provide, something like a cheat sheet. People love cheat sheets, shortcuts, all that. Huge. That's a huge interest area, cheat sheets. You could do a video. You could have an assessment or a case study, a checklist, a quick start guide, white paper, report. Those are getting a little bit longer, take a little bit more to deal with. You could do webinars, or you could have an ebook. You can even do what Pierpont did and do a lunch and learn. But ideally, you want it to be really good. Some of your best content that you can bring to the table that can be consumed in about 10 minutes or less, right? So people don't have a lot of time, but boy, when you make that impact with any of these things, you're you're just setting the stage. And you know that anything you could consume in 10 minutes or less, you're not giving away the farm. In other words, you're not giving them a reason not to take the class. What you're doing is you're encouraging them in an area they're super interested in, and of course they're going to want to take the class, and you're going to follow up with them about it, right? So now you've got all that information. Now you want to build the corresponding call to action. Now the corresponding call to action is the headline that gets attention and action. So I'm going to ask you guys a question, and just think about it, because you can't respond because I didn't put any quiz questions in the webinar. But how often when you write an email, how much time do you put into the subject line of your email? I know you guys put a lot of time into the body of the email and work on getting it just right and formatted just right with the links just right, all of that. But how much time do you put into the headline or the subject line of your email? And how many different headlines or subject lines do you come up with to play with before you decide on what it's going to be? I bet I'd be willing to wager that maybe one or two. And you do it fast, and you leave probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes for your headline, right? So here's the thing that I want to approach with you guys is headlines aren't trivial. They're the most important thing, because if people don't like your headline, they're not going to read all of that work you put into the body of your email. They're just going to hit delete. So you've got to have a headline that gets their attention and solicits their action, that would invoke curiosity or poke at a pain with a hint of relief. It can provide hope or motivate desire to achieve, any of those things. But you want to be certain that with your headline, clicking through is the path that they will want to take, whether it's a landing page, whether it's an email that they're going to want to open, they're going to want to read, they're going to want to click. So this is one of the most important aspects that gets overlooked the majority of the time. Now let's look at this last element of the lead engagement formula, and then I'm going to test you on it. No, I'm kidding. But let's look at this last element, which is frequency. How many times your lead sees the offer before they take action. Now, for this webinar, we sent out emails to people, and some of you are on this call. We sent out emails on Monday, and we sent out another email on Tuesday to our list of continuing ed folks that we have and our Genoo Lumens customers. And did that. We know that we got far more response from the second email that we sent than the first email that we sent. And it was inviting you to the same thing. We did it a little bit differently. But we got a lot more response from that second email. Interesting, isn't it? So a lot of times we send one email, and if it doesn't produce the results we want, well, sorry, we'll cancel that class. So I want you to think a little bit differently about emails. Now, if you're sending out to your whole list a whole bunch of emails all the time, you're going to wear your list out. It's going to have fatigue like nobody's business, and it's going to be horrible. But if you have targeted sends and you know these people are interested, then you can invite them a couple different times because they're busy, just like you. A lot of you didn't even see our first email. Or you saw it, but you were busy and couldn't take action, but the next day you did. So what I'm saying is that a lot of times it's going to take more than just one send to produce the result that you want. Okay? So you want to think about that. So where can you use your call to action, your headline? And a call to action can also be a button or a graphic. And I'm going to show you some examples here in a little bit. But you can have that. But you can use them on your blog posts. You can use them in your directory profiles, on your website, with Facebook or Google ads, retargeting, and in your targeted emails that you're going to be sending. So those are a lot of places that you can use these. In fact, you want to have them, and you want to continue to challenge yourself to put them together. So you want to start with one offer/CTA combo, and then add a new one, say every month or every quarter, and build out a call to action library so that you have them that you can call upon. Now, you're going to have to, again, start with one area and start to really tackle that one area and then expand. A lot of the content that you'll be developing is content that is evergreen. It's content that isn't going to go out of style, in other words. It's not like it's newsworthy and today it's news and tomorrow you can't use it. It's not like that. A lot of this stuff is timeless, and it's the same principles in leadership now that we had 10 years ago. And yes, there's new nuances and things like that you can bring in, but the old stuff still applies. You know, it's just like marketing. When a new marketing intern starts at Genoo, we have them read Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins. It was written in 1927, and it is highly relevant today, right? So there's things that are just timeless, and the same can be true of your content. All right, so let's look at an example of this on a blog post. So we've got a blog here that's by a company, Human Systems Dynamics Institute, HSD Institute. They have lots of programs in their adaptive action process. You can get certified in it and all of that. But they have a blog post here that you can see, but then they have a call to action. And the button changes when you mouse over it if you're on a desktop machine. And the vast majority of their visitors use desktop machines. So it's going to mouse over, it's going to change based on when you're over it, whether you're mouse or you're not. And then that, if they click on it, so that gets engagement. When they click on it, they go to a download form. Okay? They also have, if we scrolled to the bottom of the blog post, you would see this, and that is another call to action. And again, when you mouse over it, it's just formatted differently. It has a different structure to it. It's horizontal and wide versus the little square. So what you want to see is that you have these sorts of calls to action that get attention, that are interesting. It's almost like what we call an infographic button. So it gives some interesting stuff. And then that takes you to a download form. And so you're going to download, complete the information, click download, and then you're going to go to a thank you page. And the thank you page gives us the ability to have another, almost a promo here while we're telling them that we're sending you an email, so check your inbox. And in the meantime, explore our site. So go, click or get the book, right? And they have a whole book. So you can do some things with a thank you page more than just, hey, thank you very much, right? So you can use it, and these won't be seen as advertisements. They're going to be seen as content. And then you get the email that goes out that says download now, and then they go get your offer, but you've got this whole progression. Now the only way to do this well is to automatically, automate this process so that it just occurs. And then you're left looking at the results and the effectiveness of it. You can tweak and tune. You can use Facebook for traffic. So you could do a page post or a sponsored post and have that come right into a specific landing page that has a call to action on it, right? Call to action. So they come into the blog post, they watch the video, and they go to with a call to action to pick up what you want and how you're guiding them. And this is all measurable traffic. You can see the conversion effectiveness in real time. So you can see this stuff. It's available. And I will tell you that I talk about and have explored Facebook a fair amount. And for anybody going after the consumer audience, and I think more so the B2B audience, but I'm still a little bit reserved about that, Facebook advertising lets you target to the gnat's eyelash. I mean, you can get your geography. You can get people who are interested in maybe a competitor's page even, and you can get an audience like that. You can target those people, and you can have your advertising. You can have people that come to your site. You can use a little, what they call a retargeting pixel. So you can put an advertisement up for anybody who's come to your website that then goes into Facebook that could see your ad, right in their newsfeed. So there's things like that that are really worth looking at because Facebook traffic is very inexpensive. It's better than buying a list. You just have to be very targeted. And where you bring them, you don't want to bring them to your home page. You want to bring them into a landing page that resonates with what it is you talked about or what it is you advertised. So next question, are you guiding traffic that lands on your website homepage? Here's an example page. This is a home page. Visitors coming into the site, new to HSD, will click on what, so what, or now what. Those are the three things. Those are the big questions of their methodology. And those are the three actions that we want people to take. And then because it's at the heart of their adaptive action philosophy, okay? So then there's a fourth call to action that's called Live It, a call to action about HSD's conference. Now that's no longer there because their conference was in October. But at any rate, they have their calls to action. And the statistics measure here, the majority of clicks happen right here. That's exactly where we wanted them to happen. And they get the clicks where they want them because they're guiding their visitors. The what page then continues the initial flow with the 3 tabs, what, so what, now what, which are those 3 essential questions, and then has a primary CTA, a call to action called download your first tool, which harkens to all the rest of the tools that they're going to be asked to download, right? So they download their first tool and they're going to be put into a sequence of emails that offers them more to let them build that. But then if they don't want to take that action, they might want to get the Goldilocks equation. You know, too much difference and groups fall apart, too much similarity and groups don't go anywhere. How can you find a balance that is just right? They call that the Goldilocks equation. Again, they're talking about organizational change management. That's what these guys are very, very good at. So getting engagement and guiding leads is just the beginning. Once you have the interest, once you've gotten them to take a download or to acknowledge interest or to sign up for a class, you've also got to follow up with them. So consider that even when they're in a class, you could follow up with them periodically to get, even to take a survey about the class, or just before the class ends to talk about what's next. If they were in Photography 1, we'll have them go into Photography 2. What's the progression? And that's a simplistic progression example, but what's the next thing for them? Start to talk to them about it before they're done with as they're finishing up what they're taking right now, rather than them waiting and being in a cattle car with everybody else with the one big email that says, hey, we're open for the term, go register. You guys have a unique ability to kind of say, okay, where are we going to put them next? And start to develop those pathways of classes that guide them right through continuing their engagement with your organization. So you've got to follow up with them. And consider this, 70% of leads are never followed up with, right? 2% of sales close on the first contact, 3 on the second, etc. 81% of sales that close do so on or after the 5th contact, but only 10% of businesses actually follow through to the 5th contact point and beyond. They're leaving 81% of their potential sales to their competitors. That's amazing to me. And yet, we do. We'll send one email to register in a class. Well, they didn't do it. Well, we're either going to, and sending batch and blast to your whole list asking them to continuously register, that's no good either, because a lot of you are finding out that's not working anymore, or it's losing its effectiveness. So what do you do here? Well, you've got to target, and you've got to follow up differently. And the only way you're going to do it, given your staff restraint or constraints, staff constraints, is to be able to automate some of the way this occurs. So how do you get started? How do you follow up? Should I call everybody? No, that's not a good use of time. But boy, you could put a sequence of emails together that stays in touch, that's completely topical to what it is they're interested in, and makes other things available to them, or even tangential things. So if I took a class on photography, I may also be interested in a class on Photoshop. That's totally different than learning how to work with my camera, right? But those could be completely combined, right? So let's look at the big picture here. The big picture is leads respond to an offer that you make. They complete a lead capture form that's on a landing page. They're auto-sent an email with the downloads so they can go get it. That way you know you have a good email. So you don't want to take them right to it. You want to know you have a good email on the form, and then they're automatically triggered into a nurturing sequence that's associated with that download. So you got a flow going. Now I'm not suggesting in here you've got 10 emails, by the way. So let's look at this. So the first one is, hey, thank you for your interest. Here's your download, and here's how you can participate with it. Here's how you can look at it. Here's what it's going to open up for you. and the benefits of the class that we have that addresses this, blah, 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 right? So you could even do that with a link right in that first email to register into that class specifically, okay? Now, or the program, that program area specifically. Then with whatever it is that they downloaded, you have a number of things you could talk to them about. So you could recast the points from that content piece. So and so if you only made 3 points, you only got 3 emails here. So I have 8, right? Just in case it was a white paper or an ebook or something. And then you can offer them something else. So they haven't registered in the class yet, right? So some of these could be a blog post, and you expand on a topic that you covered, and you take them to a blog post, and right there with that blog post is a call to action into the class or set of classes that they'd be interested in, either using our class list widget or a specific call to action. And then, you know, and so that way they don't even see it as advertising. They just see it as they're reading a blog post and, oh yeah, I should go get that. I should register into that now. So it's a natural progression, right? And if they don't, you just offer them what's next, some other, the next download or whatever that then takes them into that specific information with a whole different class potentially. So you just, and it's a whole cycle. One of the things that we're working on, not ready to talk about it yet, but we'll be ready to talk about it in January, is the whole flow, but the whole sort of machinery of this. And how do you put that in place so it just sort of what you have to do there and how you can run it and have it run itself and continue to make progress. So so stay tuned because I'm going to talk about some things of that later on as we get to the end of the webinar. Now, it's time for you to move the needle. So I've covered a lot of topics, right? So here's the thing. So you could just attend this, take notes, put your notes away, and have all the good intention in the world of implementing something, but the truth is it'll just live like a good idea and, you know, in a webinar you attended. What I want is for you to move the needle for yourself. So I've put it together. So create your offer and lead magnet. So do these things. Focus on this. So identify the class with the category or subcategory. Just identify one. Identify a category and subcategory that you want to address, make a difference in. Write it down, just real quick, off the top of your head. What's the area you want to make a difference in? Write it down. Who is it that takes these classes? What other classes might they take? Right? What are their top 3 issues and challenges? Just off the top of your head. And you might be like, you know what, I don't know, but I need to talk to an instructor. You could have that conversation. Just set it up. It doesn't take long. What are the top 3 questions they really want the answers to related to that? Get that defined for yourself, and now you'll know who you're talking to. Your engagement will go up significantly once you come at it from this perspective. And then build the corresponding call to action, right? So look at what's a headline that would invoke curiosity? What's a headline that would poke at a pain with a hint of relief and address one of the problems or things that you identified about that audience? What's a headline that would give them hope? And what's a headline that would motivate desire for them to achieve? Just on that subject. So write a headline for each one and start to play with them. Look at them. Spend time there, and then craft your newsletter. Then craft your email. Then craft the call to action. Start with the headline. Work on it. It's the most important part of what you're going to do. Because you want to make sure that clicking through is the path that your visitors, that your leads, that your students want to take. Okay, so that brings me to resources, and we're almost to questions. And I know this is going to be sort of hard for you to probably read. Thank God we're not in a huge room where it would be impossible. So know your audience persona. I've got a link here at bit.ly/persona-blog to get a sense of personas and download a worksheet to help you define them. You can go there. Then we have you want to use your persona, your information that you get about them to develop your offer, your lead magnet, your call to action. This is the content pathways that I alluded to very early on in the presentation. So it's bit.ly content-pathways, and you can download a guide that will walk you through how to think those through. Calls to action are missing from most marketing. Make them mandatory. Really challenge yourself to think, what do I want people to do? And if they don't do that, what else do I want them to do? Start really thinking about that. And if you need help with your content strategy or calls to action, and you're not yet a Lumens Genoo customer, then visit contentzap.com or send me an email. We can talk about helping you guys there and having you become a Genoo and Lumens customer. Automate with marketing technology. That's what we've got. That's what Genoo has. That's integrated fully with Lumens. Makes your life really, really easy. So you can find out more at genoo.com/lumens. We are built for the CE marketing automation and integrate in real time with Lumens. So if you're already a Lumens customer and you don't have Genoo yet, really consider adding Genoo because online marketing is not going away. It's something you have got to grapple with if you're going to continue to move your CE organization forward. No matter if you have contract training, professional development, personal enrichment, all of those things, you have a lot of competition now given that the internet is so easy to publish on. So you've got a lot. You've got to start to play that realm. Now, if you're a Genoo Lumens customer and you're on this call, on this webinar, I have a special thing for you, and it's just for Genoo and Lumens customers. We are going to start in January, and this was something that brainstormed at the Augusoft User Summit. We're going to start a go-to-meeting roundtable discussion with the Genoo Lumens customers. We're going to specifically work on engagement, all the things we just talked about here. We're going to start working on those with everybody that's a Genoo Lumens customer. It's going to be on a go-to-meeting so everybody can participate and ask questions and offer up your insights and what's working for you. And then we'll be covering these subjects and just really looking at it with you. I'm sure it will lead to enhancements to Genoo as well. But if you want to sign up for that and you're a customer, just go out to bit.ly and then /GTM-series, and the GTM must be capitalized. You might not have to capitalize it, but I found out that bit.ly is case sensitive. So GTM series, and you can sign up for that, okay? So it's only for Genoo and Lumens customers there. And we're going to start probably, I think we're going to do the third week in January, likely Wednesdays. So we haven't formalized it yet, but if you sign up and tell me that, I'm in, I want to participate, we'll send you an email in early January, just after the holidays, letting you know all the specifics, okay? And with that, I'm going to open it up for questions.
All right, thanks, Kim. We've got a couple questions coming in. The first one, what types of metrics should we be tracking, and what is the best way to track them?
I would say this is a great question. So the best metrics to be tracking, you would want to know on your overall engagement, how much traffic are you getting and how many conversions are happening off that traffic. So you're going to want to know that, and then how many leads do you get also because of that. So you kind of want to understand how effective are your web pages, right? And Google Analytics will give you traffic. If you code it up right, it'll give you conversions, but it'll never give you leads. So Genoo gives you all of it. It'll give you the whole view at your fingertips, really easy to see. So how do you get them? You become a Genoo customer. Now, anyway, so that was a good question. So thank you.
Another question, what is HSD?
HSD is Human Systems Dynamics Institute. They're one of our clients, and they have a process for organizational change management. They have an adaptive action book called Adaptive Action, and that's the name of their process, published by Stanford University Press. So they come out of the academic realm. They do a lot of work with school systems. They do a lot of work in a lot of different industries. It's pretty interesting, the kind of work they do around chaos and change management and that sort of thing. It's very interesting stuff.
Okay, next question. Does Genoo integrate with other online registration programs?
Not at this time. Lumens, we have a fairly strong partnership with Lumens right now. We would love to look at doing some other integrations, but right now we're really maximizing our Genoo partnership.
Let's see, next question. What is the ideal lead time to promote a class or program? A month, 3 weeks, in your opinion?
The ideal lead time to promote a class, I would take as much time as you have. If all you want are registrations, then and that's all you're going to go for, because that's typically what we see. That's what you guys know how to do really well. You're going to do that in a shorter time period, right? If you want to nurture interest and that kind of stuff, you can actually do that fairly quickly too if you've got the content ready to go. So I would say your planning should be probably 8 weeks out, with 1 month prior really in earnest in terms of how you're promoting to get the interest and then into actually turn them into registrations into your classroom. And we'll be playing with that starting in January. We're going to do a 6-month monthly webinar or monthly go-to-meeting with folks, and hopefully we'll have a lot more data on this in June.
Great. Let's see, another question here. How should we alter the message to not overstimulate our list or create fatigue?
Target your list. Stop sending to everybody on it. Make sure that your message is highly valuable to them and relevant. So you got to be relevant. Now, here's why I say that. A couple years ago, I was challenged to write an email every day for 30 days on something good. It couldn't just be a crappy email. It had to be a good email about business and marketing and stuff like that. And I took up the challenge, and then the thing to put my, to really hold my feet to the fire, I sent out an email to my list. At the time it was about 6,000. Sent an email out and said, gave them the opportunity to register to get an email from me every single day for 30 days, not including weekends. I decided I was going to take weekends off. And to my surprise, I thought I'd have like 15 takers, people who knew me and took pity on me. But I had 215 people sign up to get these emails, and 5 of them or something like that were brand new to the list. Like somebody forwarded the email and said, hey, you should sign up for this, and they did. And they got the emails every day for 30 days. There's only one day that I missed, and it was when I was in California in meetings all day, got out at 7 o'clock at night, and figured it's 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the Central and East Coast. I'm not going to do it tonight. And I didn't do it. So everyone was amazed that I made all 30 days, but I wanted to prove to myself that it's possible on a very busy schedule to still write good content and good emails, and I did it. Afterwards, I did a survey, and I said, were they too frequent? And to a person, the answer on the survey was, not if it's something I want, not if it's something that's relevant to me. So list fatigue happens when you send out a bunch of emails out to your list and you get a 10% open rate or less than a 15% open rate. That means 15 people out of 100 found it interesting. In other words, less than that clicked through. Actually, less than that found it interesting, because you'll have less click-through than that, right? So that's where list fatigue happens. If you aren't up above 20% on a regular basis with your email sends, you're fatiguing your list. And you can continue to send to them. You'll get less and less response. But it's because the majority of the people on that list are learning to ignore you because you're not relevant. And the more they ignore you, it hurts your deliverability. So it hurts your deliverability into their inbox because you're training the ISPs that the majority of people don't care. And then any other emails you send to those people that they might have been interested in just go into their spam filter. So that's what's happening. That's the reality, the modern reality that's changing around email sending. So that's my answer for that question.
Great, thank you. One more question. We have a small department. What or whom should we be leveraging to create content?
Leverage your instructors. Leverage, small businesses. You guys have a big task, right? So you don't want to get overwhelmed. You want to pick one place to start, just one, and get that going. If you don't have the expertise in that program area, then talk to your program managers. talk to the instructors. Record the conversation and get it transcribed. You'll have a lot of data there, a lot of good information, okay? But just pick one area to start.
Great. Well, Kim, I think those are all the questions that we have for now that we can get to. So is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Nope, that's all I've got. I mean, I would welcome any questions that y'all have, and there will be more coming, because I think this is an area that we know has to get tackled. It can't get ignored, and the longer you ignore it, the harder it will be for you to recover.
Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you to all the participants. If we did not get to your question during the session, we will be in touch offline. I will be sending out a recording of the webinar this week for your convenience. You can, pass that on as well. And this concludes our webinar. Thank you, and have a great day.
Yep. Thank you so much.